This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Coming from the 606 Media Studio, this is the TCSF podcast with Big Z. In the house, we got JC Dynasty Fantasy Football because we got a ton of football news. And you are tuned in to the TCSF podcast, and we are powered by 606 Media and True Chicago Sports Fans. This is episode 244, and we're fired up to talk about our Chicago sports teams. This is going to get brought to you by 606 Media, where your ultimate source for all things Chicago. Don't forget to swing by 606media.com to snag your official TCSF podcast t-shirt, or check out the exclusive For the Love of Sports merchandise line. Show off your Chicago pride. We've got all types of stuff. We've got hoodies, shirts, jerseys, tank tops, Razorbacks. We have a Nike line on there, bro. We got a lot of stuff, and I'm trying to get Steven's line up there. Hopefully we'll get it done by the end of the month for the No Water No Weekend exclusive line. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or the X, smash that subscribe button. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast app, please leave us a 5-star review and share it with your sports buddies. It means the world to us. And if you're looking to get involved in more ways, support the show with a monthly subscription at anchor.fm/True Chicago Sports Fans for as little as 99 cents a month. Every little bit helps the conversation going. While you're here, subscribe to the rest of the 606 Media family and Podcated with Big Z. We dive deep into fascinating life stories with engaging discussions, insightful interviews, and plenty of humor. Last episode was Jaws Sita, a comedian that has roots in Chicago, roots in LA. She just came back. I saw her show on Saturday at the Lincoln Lodge over in Milwaukee. She killed it. Lots of female comics that were doing that show. It was awesome. Support comedy, supports podcast. Definitely a good episode to go check on and Podcated with Big Z. No Water on the Weekend with Steven and Sean, a pop culture podcast serving up funny trivia, film, TV, music, and the latest Chicago-centric happenings. They are now exclusively, I think, on 606 Media if you want to watch them. I'm not sure if Sean's turning over the episodes into audio yet. I'm going to check on that tonight, and I'll let you guys, I'll report back. But you can go back on there. They're also on Twitch if you want to interact with them all the time. So go to their Twitch channel, No Water on the Weekend, and you subscribe so you get notifications when they are live. You do that for our show too, or in Podcated. So strap in, get ready for an unforgettable ride. We are going to get in, not in Podcated. I'm on 2 different shows at the same time on True Chicago Sports Fans, and we're going to go into episode 244. We're going to talk about our Chicago Bears. It is draft week. Unfortunately, it's in Green Bay, but it is draft week, and we have a bunch of picks. We're going to break those down. We are going to talk about our Chicago baseball teams. One's going in one direction, the other one's going in the toilet. And we'll wrap it up with Chicago Bulls commentary and a little bit of wrestling. So let's get ready to roll. And, it is Chicago Bears season. It's always Chicago Bears season. It's always NFL season. The NFL is taking over everything. The Chicago Bears are preparing for the 2025 NFL draft, where they have four picks in the top 75, including the 10th overall selection. And while Chicago is sitting on the edge of the top 10, there's a number of prospects who can very well be on the board, because there's a lot of wild card teams that always mess up the draft for everybody else, or they leave people, pretty good players on the table for the Bears, as we saw last year. So depending on how the board falls out, we're going to talk about some talent that can end up with the Bears at the number 10 spot. We're going to start off with number 1, Abdul Carter, edge from Penn State. Give me some information, JC, on that.
Right now, he's going to be a generational talent. He is the number 1 edge rusher in this class. We'll see where he goes. He's supposed to go in the at least top 3, top 4 picks. We'll see how it goes. It depends on if Shadur Sanders gets in there, and if Abdul Carter falls just because, Cleveland needs a quarterback or the Giants need a quarterback. We'll see what happens there. But that said, Abdul Carter is one of those guys that if the Bears were able to move up and grab him and potentially move a pick, there's been rumor that potentially the Bears could move pick 5 or move up to pick 5 from 10 and give up either pick 39 or pick 41 and potentially snag Abdul Carter. If that was to happen, I think personally, that would be awesome. Because when you look at some of these other edge rushers behind Abdul Carter, there's some question marks right now. You got Mike Green, you got Michael Williams, you got Shamar Stewart, James Pierce. All those guys that I'm talking about right now, there's some off the field issues and or injury history. Michael Williams has some injury history. So we're dealing with that. Then you have, like I said, James Pierce has some attitude issues that have been, documented since college. Then we also have some guys such as Mike Green. There's, rumor of, he has a little bit of, issues off the field. I don't necessarily want to get into details of, what, but you can look it up and find out what the rumors are of Mike Green. Welcome back, Z.
No, you were on there. I was just giving you your solo because you're talking about. No, I'm sorry to confuse you. I just literally had you on there because
I thought you had dropped off, and I was.
Oh no, I didn't drop off.
I just go until you came back.
Oh no, I just had you on there because I just we're talking about Abdul Carter. I was like, all right, he's going. Let him cook. Give him a solo thing. No, I know Abdul Carter he's going to be a pass wrecker. Obviously in Dennis Allen's defense. He was with Penn State. He had 68 total tackles. He had 24 tackles for loss, 12 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. So, and 4 pass breakups. So definitely a monster on the defensive end. It's somebody that obviously he's on the top of the wish list. If he's going to be there, do we think he's going to be there? Most likely not.
No, you would have to move up to get him, and that's the thing is with the Bears, it's like, okay, we really do need an edge across from Montez Sweat, and he is the only edge with the production without the off the field issues, and this is kind of what I was talking about. You got Mike Green with off the field issues, James Pierce with off field issues, Shamar Stewart doesn't have the off-field issues, but he doesn't have the production in college. 3 sacks across the last 2 years for Shamar Stewart, even though he was the workout wonder of the combine and had like a 99%, RAS score in the way of athletic abilities. And then you have Michael Williams that's coming off an injury, but who had a good season up until the injury. Of the players available, Michael Williams, James Pierce, Carter, and Mike Green doesn't really fit the Bears prototype for edge. He's a little light at 240. Most of the times the Bears defenses, especially those edge guys in the 4-3, they want them to be like 6'5", 6'6", and they want them to be like right around 280, 265, 280. So Mike Green comes in a little light. Javon Walker comes in a little light. A lot of those guys, but like I said, if you're looking for the prototype, Shamar Stewart, Michael Williams, Abdul Carter meet that prototype of size, weight that the Bears look for.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. Dennis Allen does like his big guys at the edge to be able to break up passes and rush very well. Number 2 pick on the wish list would be Will Campbell, offensive lineman at LSU. Obviously, we've got Tooney and Jonah Jackson and Drew Dahlman. But what would Will Campbell add to the offensive line for the Chicago Bears if he's selected?
Right now, he would add amazing depth right? Because we're talking about Braxton Jones. Everything coming out is that, Braxton Jones is still the guy that everybody, in the Bears organization loves Braxton. But let's be honest, he's been injured, he's been hurt for the past couple of years. He doesn't make it through a full season, due to injuries. So to bring Will Campbell in, I mean, even if Braxton plays the first 6 games and gets injured, well, guess what? Then we roll Will Campbell out there and we see what he's got. Now, whether or not, because of the question marks of Will Campbell's size and arm length, can he play left tackle? Well, if Braxton Jones goes down, we're going to find out. And if he can't, guess what? Then he's going to be a guard for the Bears for a very long time, probably Pro Bowl and or All Pro at guard for a very long time. And we only have Thuney right now for a 1-year deal. So either way, it could be a long-term replacement for Braxton or a very short-term replacement for Thuney. You know what I mean? In the way of, we have Thuney for 1 year, we have Braxton for 1 year. Either way, it could be a long-term replacement for one of the two. So to me, it's a perfect pick because not only that, we went through 34 different combinations of our offensive line last year due to injuries, sicknesses, everything else, right? So 34 different combinations. You have 5 players. Even if you do the math, that's 25 is way too much. To get to 34, you're talking about we rotated through 8 to 10 different guys on the line and or move their position from left guard to right guard, from, et cetera. So to have premier backups in case any of these guys get injured. And again, you don't have to push the rookie to play this year. He can sit, learn for 6 games or whatever it is. Or if, there's an injury in the offseason, he's there ready to roll. To me, Will Campbell is a great pick for long term.
Yeah. Again, this is the wish list, right? This isn't exactly, we know that he might not make it past the Patriots, who are looking for offensive line help at the same time. So again, this is a wish list. Maybe the Bears do trade up because they do have assets for that. Maybe they trade future assets to get up to this pick, as we're in a win now situation and you want to solidify the trenches on both offense or defensive line for the Bears. So that being said, like my guy JC says, all right, number 3 on the wish list, Travis Hunter, cornerback, wide receiver out of Colorado. There's no way he makes that out of the top 5. I know that, but we can dream over here at the TCSF podcast. And he is the Heisman Trophy winner for a reason. He's a stud at two-way player. He excels at receiver and cornerback. Last year with Colorado, he hauled 96 catches for 1,258 yards, 15 touchdowns on offense, while totaling on 36 tackles, including 1 tackle for loss and 4 interceptions, 11 pass breakups, and 1 forced fumble on defense. If the Bears were to get Travis Hunter, would you still use him as a two-way player? Would you have him focus on as a corner or as a wide receiver?
I would definitely have him focus on corner because I feel that is more of a need for the Bears.
Yeah.
However, I would definitely use him as a wide receiver as well in packages in the red zone. But otherwise, like personally, I'll be honest with you, if Travis Hunter was there, even at 10, I'm not a big fan of his. He's good at both positions, but if he were in like last year's draft, he would be the 5th best wide receiver. He would be like the 5th best corner. So he is an anomaly and a great player in a less talented draft, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion on it. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for that, and there are Travis Hunter, homers out there, and that's fine. But again, just my opinion. He's good at both positions, but he is not elite at any one position. But like I said, if you're getting a player that can play both ways And you know what I mean? Like that opens up, you know, you have a roster of 52 men. So if you got a guy that can play safety deep on like a Hail Mary and he's got hands,
Yeah,
you know, that's the other thing is, you know, most corners, they're corners because they don't have hands to be a wide receiver.
exactly. They don't make it as a wide receiver, right?
So, you know, that's the other thing is, you know, he can play corner, he's got hands. You know, and like I said, you give him a package of, you know, 15 reps a game, maybe 10 reps, because again, you don't want to wear the kid out. You know, you want him to have a long career. If he's playing both ways in the NFL, you know, you could have a guy that should have a 10-year career. All of a sudden, he's having a 5-year career because in 3 years, you know, the wear and tear, especially the amount of reps he played in college, it's catching up with him. You know, it's
What if you kind of flipped it and you give him the Hester treatment where go play cornerback and you're returning punts and kicks?
I don't know if he really return kicks in college.
I mean, if he's got hands, he can catch a you know a pop
Yeah, I
up.
mean, you could probably force him to, you know, do kick and punt returns, but you know, I don't know that he really has that skill set or is very good at doing it. I
Mhm.
mean, you could give it a shot. I mean, heck, anybody, you know, especially a rookie.
Did you
Hey,
see what
we're
happened
gonna
last
put you
year?
on-
Come
we're
on.
gonna put we're gonna put you on special teams. We're gonna see what you can do, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, hey, you know, you're the backup to, you know, Zacharias, or you know, I think we still have Travis Hunter, or one of those running backs that are, you know, kick and punt
Mhm,
return
mhm.
guys. But like I said, I mean, personally, I would definitely like Abdul Carter or Will Campbell over Travis Hunter. That is just, again, my personal opinion for what the Bears' needs are.
Mhm.
You know, especially if we have to trade up to get Hunter.
No, I
Not
wouldn't trade up to get him.
interested. Yeah,
I
not
would not trade
interested
up to
if
get
I have
no.
to.
This would be a scenario where all the people that we want are taken in, you know, in the first 9 picks, and you're like, well, I guess he's the best athlete at this point, and you don't want to take a reclamation project or a
Yeah.
problem in the locker room. You don't want to take a you know a long shot, especially at pick number 10. You want to make sure that you're getting someone that can come in and either start by, you know, on day 1 or start by game 6, but be an impact player this season for the Chicago Bears. That's what you want at number 10. You don't want him starting next year or the year after that. Those are second, third round, fourth round guys.
Yeah, for me, like like even like I said, you know, Abdul Carter, he is the only guy that I would be willing to trade up to. Like, if somehow he fell to pick 5 with Jacksonville, you know, something like that where it makes sense because I believe Jacksonville, like trading with them, it's one of those where the math for trading, it's our first and I think pick 41 is the mathematical equation of trading up to that position.
Okay.
So if forgot somehow he fell to the Jags, which I don't see happening, then he is the only player as a Bears fan I would want to trade up to get. Like Will Campbell, if he falls to me at 10, great. You know, because again, he has the short arms, and it's one of those where it's like, can he really be that left tackle? Because to take a guard, you know, at 10, even though he'll be an all pro, he'll be a fantastic guard for his entire career. It's still one of those like the positional value, like between a left tackle and a guard. There's a big difference there, you know, where guards normally go late first and tackles always go in top 10. So that's kind of the question of, you know, where do they see him able to play long term?
Yeah. Yeah. You, you could have said it better. Number 4 on the wish list, Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan. You know, obviously we addressed the interior defensive line in free agency with the addition of Grady Jarrett to pair with Javon Dexter and Billings. But if you were to add Mason Graham and he fell to number 10, he's a force in the interior pass rush. He can be a game wrecker in the middle of the Bears defense. He totaled 45 tackles, including 7 for losses, 3.5 sacks, 1 pass breakup in 12 games. So adding him to the defensive front would be a massive get for Dennis Allen's defense. So what do you say about Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan?
Same kind of concept with Will Campbell. Little
Just
I
dropped your
don't know what
camera.
happened to my I was gonna say I don't know what happened to my camera. There we go. I don't know. With Mason Graham, it's kind of the same thing as Will Campbell. Came in a little short, a little light at the combine. However, as I read by one of the GMs, who was anonymously asked by one of the, scouts / guys that do mock drafts, the GM basically said, yes, we know what his measurements are, but don't overthink it.
Okay.
Basically saying like this guy is like, even though, because they always say like, don't bet on the traits, bet on, the athletic traits, etc. This is one of those outliers. Even though he does not meet the height, weight measurements of the prototype defensive tackle, don't overthink it. Don't think that this guy's not going to be a guy. He is still going to be a guy, even though he doesn't meet the prototypical, 6'3", 6'4", 330 pounds with 33-inch arms, even though he doesn't meet all those measurements, he is still productive. He is still a monster. He still takes on double teams. He's just like one of those Aaron Donald and type of guys where he is an outlier in when outliers are not very common.
Again, I mean, this is a wish list, so don't get mad at us. We're just talking about people that possibly can fall, or if we make a trade and move up. At number 5,
Like I
which
said,
is
teams, if they look at these guys and say he doesn't meet the arm length, he doesn't meet this, there are teams that overthink those things. And if they fall to the Bears at 10, the Bears better be there to run that pick in. Because again, if these teams overthink it because the guy's arms are an inch short, don't overthink things. These guys are athletic enough to make up for some short arms. And again, even if they don't, they are going to be all class, or at least Will Campbell will, as a guard. Now, Mason Graham, if he's one of those outliers that doesn't work out, I don't know what he'll do, because he will be a defensive tackle. So, if he doesn't really pan out a defensive tackle, I don't see him moving to linebacker.
no.
He will be a defensive tackle. It's just unfortunate that, he won't be one of the greats.
As long as he can be a starter for 16 games and he's giving you production week after week, it doesn't matter what your size is, even if he's just, a everyday starter and, a couple tackles for loss, he's a presence and he doesn't get hurt and he's there. Again, the best ability is availability. If he can play for the Bears every single time and we don't have a turnstile of offensive, defensive lineman, it's a huge get. It's a huge get. So, and I know we want to work on the trenches and we want to get that because we have a lot of toys to play with on offense. And speaking of toys on offense, number 5 on the list is going to be Ashton Jeanty, running back of Boise State. This has been the talk of the town on Chicago radio, on ESPN, on Fox Sports, on everything. And you know what? We're going to cover it. And the reason we are going to cover it because it is a possibility. This might be the closest to a realistic pick on the list. Is that Alshon Jeanty slips past the Raiders because they were talking about drafting him too, but they also have problems on both offense and defensive line. So if he gets past the Raiders at that 6th overall pick, Ben Johnson loves to run the ball. Ben Johnson loves a two-headed monster to run the ball. He had Sonic and Knuckles up in Detroit, right? So he's looking to create his own version of this in Chicago. Jeanty would be a sensational get at 10. He's that dynamic running back. I've seen a lot of clips on him. He's really good. He's really good. He can catch the ball. He's a good runner. I think he would flourish in Ben Johnson's offense the way he opens it up. So is there a chance we get him at 10? And are we going to go for another shiny toy instead of getting something to solidify the offensive or defensive line? If those guys are all gone, JC, if everybody that you want on offense or defensive line, 1 through 9 are gone, are we picking this running back?
I think Ben Johnson would be very intrigued by him. And I hope they do their due diligence on him because, when he played some better talent, he kind of didn't do very well. When he played the Penn States, when he played the bigger schools, because, he is out of Boise State. When he went up against tougher talent, he did not fare so well. However, he is like 5'8", 5'9", somewhere in there, and that dude is yoked. I'm talking he is
Barry Sanders.
Yeah, he is probably 2% body fat or something of that nature. When you saw his combine photos of him glistening with baby oil, he looked like an absolute animal. That said, usually running backs, you want them like 5'11" to 6 foot. You want them somewhere in the 215 to 220 range. So we'll see. He's a little bit shorter. Maurice Jones-Drew was a little bit shorter. You have the common thighs and ass, and like I said, he's yoked, so there's no issues there. The competition, we'll see what happens. That's the one thing that worries me with Genty is, when you go look at some of those games where he had a little tougher competition, he didn't fare so well. So, that said, yeah, I think at 10, he is an option. Is it one that personally, listen, if we draft him at 10, I'm going to be excited. Okay. But the bottom line is like, can we get some of these other running backs at pick 39 or 41?
Yeah, that was something I'm going to bring up a little bit. Yeah.
Right. And get more of a position of value. Because again, we always talk about what are the positions of value. Somebody that affects the quarterback, i.e. edge rush, or someone that protects the quarterback, i.e. left tackle, offensive line. So, obviously, if there is a all-world cornerback, like some of these guys recently, Surtain and some of those guys that get picked in the top 5, absolutely. Unfortunately, there are cornerbacks that are good coming out this year, but none of them really are, I could see some going in like the top 15. But like I said, they're not one of those guys where, it's consensus. This guy is all world, all class, shutdown corner. So, you got your Will Johnsons, and then I can't think of the second corner. It's Ibuka or something of that nature. Let me pull up
Yeah.
Let me pull up the
Again, I wouldn't be mad if they got Genty at 10. I just still
no, absolutely not. He, like I said, he's an amazing talent,
right?
And he is a 3-down running back. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He sees the field very well. One of his stats is just broken tackles and yak. He usually does not go down on the first contact. So usually it's the second or third guy that usually get him down.
The third guy, he's in a secondary.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we want. And then, like I said, it would be nice to get that 1-2 punch because Ben Johnson does run the ball. And if you run the ball, it opens the playbook for Caleb Williams to pass the ball, play action, and it protects the quarterback because he's not getting hit 58 times a season, right? He's not getting clocked every single play, running for his life, looking like a toddler with a chicken nugget, that he just stole. So definitely you want another running back, but not at the cost of the offensive line. If all the studs are gone, I understand. But if he's gone,
and that's the big issue, is because, you know, as we're saying, like Amario and Hampton, I mean, he's climbing up the board too, where, you know, if Genty does go at 6, I mean, there's talks that Amari and Hampton from North Carolina could potentially go at 12 to the Cowboys, or he would go as late as potentially the Steelers or Denver. So I mean,
really, the Steelers. What did you think the Steelers would be drafting a quarterback with all their issues that they have there in that position, with no Aaron Rodgers? You know, Justin just left. I don't even know who the quarterback is right now. Is it? Oh,
right.
is it?
They don't. I don't think they have anybody right now.
Yeah, they do. They do. He was in Tampa Bay. He threw as many interceptions as touchdowns. Why do I want to say Brian?
You're not talking Winston.
Yeah,
Winston's in New York.
Jameis Winston.
Yeah, he went to New York. He's backing up Russell Wilson.
Where did Justin go?
Justin Fields went to the Jets.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. They're both New York teams. Yeah.
Jade Barron is the other cornerback that I was thinking of. And Mbuka is a safety in a much later round.
So I want to throw a couple names out there, and you're going to tell me your reaction to these names. Let's say the Bears go round 1, pick 10, Armand Membu, offensive tackle, Missouri.
I'll take it. Absolutely.
Over Genty?
Not over Genty, but if Genty is gone, then Membu absolutely at 10.
All right. If the Bears go running back on round number 2, and if they go Caleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa,
it better be at pick 41. Better be the second pick. Caleb Johnson, I really haven't done too much video work on him. I know what the consensus is, you know, what everybody's saying.
1,500 yards, 21 touchdowns last year.
Trey Henderson and Judkins are more of the guys in that early second round range. I would definitely like Trey Henderson way more than Caleb at those picks.
Okay. I mean, I think they should continue to draft defensive linemen or offensive linemen with at least one of the picks in the second round. One of the names that have been thrown around has been Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan. You know, it'd be. I don't think he would be a day one starter, but he would be a depth piece. And at the second round, I think it'd be a good depth piece to get in there for the defensive line. So that's just me. I don't have his numbers off the top of my head, but I know this he had his stock rising a little bit because he showed out in the thing. But I don't know. What else did you want to address?
At pick 10?
No, not pick 10. This would be second round, pick 41.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but at pick 10, a guy that I'm watching is defensive tackle Walter Nolan. He is a guy that I think could walk in there and be a smashing presence for the defense. Like, if again, saying Genty's gone, saying Campbell's gone, Abdul Carter's gone, so all the guys that we already covered tonight, if they are gone and we are stuck at 10. And to me, Walter Nolan is one of those guys. Okay, even though we picked up the guy from Atlanta and signed him, he is an older vet. So think of him more of he's going to come in on pass rush downs, and he's going to work his magic as a veteran that knows how to get to the quarterback. All right, Walter Nolan will be that first and second down run stuffer and disruptor. You know what I mean? And then we rotate in the guy from Atlanta. So to me, that would be perfect. You know, you kind of get him in a rotation, get him working behind the guy from Atlanta. And then, like I said, next year he can ball out, you know.
Yeah. Are you going to be working, or are you going to be able to watch the draft live?
No, I will be working, but I will definitely have the draft going somehow, either audio, video, something. I will figure out a way to be watching or
Pigeon Mes-
listening to this draft.
He's going to have Pigeon Messenger service drop off the picks.
One way or another, somehow, some way, I'm going to know what's going on.
Oh man. All right. Well, I've got nothing else. I got nobody else that you want to talk about, unless you have a dark horse that they'll draft.
I just want to talk about kind of positions of need. So again, we've talked about we need edge rusher, right? So some of those guys, like if we went, Genty in the first, in that second round, then we could talk about. Let's talk about Byard, right? Our free safety. He's on the last year of his deal.
Mhm.
He's an older veteran. We've been filling in free safety ever since Eddie Jackson left, with kind of filler pieces, with Byard. And we can get younger at the position. Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame is a guy that I consistently look at and take in the second round with pick 41. Some of those edge rushers that I look at pick 39 are Ezaraku and Nick Scorton. Jack Sawyer has, for whatever reason, kind of fallen off and fell way back in the draft. I've seen him, in some of these mocks going at like pick 130 now. So even if you could get Jack Sawyer at pick like 72,
which is a better round for us, right?
Would be huge, because Jack Sawyer is a disruptor, but for whatever reason, his value in stock has really kind of fallen off since the combine, and he's kind of fallen down the board, and I don't know why. But it's one of those, if we could snag him at like pick 72 and get a discount on him, I wouldn't be mad at it. Other than that, yeah, like Trey Henderson, and like I said, Walter Nolan. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about the Bears draft, is having those 3 or 4 picks in the top 75. They could go anywhere kind of in this draft, and I'm not going to be mad at it. I mean, unless they really do, because another thing I brought up to my guys is, cornerback 2, the guy that messed up the Hail Mary, and I'm blanking on his name right now.
Oh, for the Bears?
Yeah, for the Bears.
Oh,
hold on one second. I have it here. Where is it?
Why can't I think of the name? Stevenson.
Yes.
Tyreek Stevenson.
Stevenson, he kind of messed up the Hail Mary and kind of whatever. So, you got Will Johnson and Jahdae Barron. So, like I said, even if the Bears decide, hey, you know what, we're going to go with a cornerback at 10 and solidify cornerback 2, because, Stevenson kind of had his, after the Hail Mary, he got benched. And then I don't know if it was a confidence thing because they benched him or what happened. He kind of had a fall off at the end of the season where he wasn't playing like his normal self. Now, whether or not he can get that confidence back and be our number 2, great. But we are starting to put a lot of money towards the cornerback position between Jalen Johnson and now re-signing Gordon. We signed both of them. Gordon is now the highest paid inside corner, nickel corner in the league. And Jalen Johnson, granted, he's on a very good deal for us. When we signed him, his deal is now way less than what the top guys are being paid. But we are still allocating, I think it's like close to 35 million between Jalen Johnson and Gordon now. So when Stevenson needs to be paid, then it becomes an issue of how much money are we putting towards these cornerbacks. So with that, if we do go with a corner, not mad at it, right? The other position I will talk about very quickly is Warren, the tight end out of Penn State, who consistently gets mocked to us. I'm not a big fan of the pick because that would mean we've spent 2 first-round picks within 5 or 6 years on the position of tight end. Now, if you tell me, and this is the understanding of, hey, we're picking this kid, Tyler Warren. He's going to be the number 2 behind Komet, and then next year,
If Komet doesn't produce, you bring him up, right? That's number one.
Not even that. We're cutting Komet next year because he's due $8.5 million. Right. So if it's a cap casualty situation,
right,
because Komet's production doesn't equal $8.5 million, and now Tyler Warren is going to be our number 1 tight end, then I kind of accept it. Right. If you're going to tell me, no, we're not going to cut Komet, we're going to keep Komet and whatever, we've talked about this in podcasts past, that at no point other than the Patriots with Aaron Hernandez and Gronk, do you really see a team feature 2 tight ends that produce more than like 50 catches each?
Yeah, I don't know what the cap casualty would be because he would be owed almost $9 million in 20. You'd be 9.9 in 26, 8.9 in 27, 8.9 in 28. So it's got 3 years.
Komet, you're talking about?
Yeah, but he does have a potential out in 2026 with a $3.2 million dead cap hit.
Correct. Yeah, but again, when you look at not this year's contract but next year's, there is a small dead cap, which I mean it's like 3 million.
Yeah,
but if you look at the cap savings, it's like 8.5 million.
Oh, okay. All right.
So like we would still owe him through, like, so he would be technically, he's supposed to be paid $11 million, but we would have to pay him 3 million, but we would save 8.5.
Now, when you cut someone like that, is that paid over the length of the contract that should have been, or is it a one-time payout? You know how that works?
It's paid each year over the contract.
So what would the contract would have
if
been?
he still has 2 years left with us,
1.6.
he would get the 3.2 million when we cut him, and then he would get whatever the pay is the next year, that following year. So dead cap always hits the cap of the year it's owed.
Okay, so he would be owed that 3.2, and then only he would be getting what is guaranteed for the next 2 years. No, if you cut him in 26, it's 3.2 over the next 2 years.
Okay, so so if you look up the 27 and 28, does it say what the dead cap is for that? I'll look it up very quick.
No, it does not. Or cap hit. It says cap hit 11.6. Oh, here we go. Dead cap 3.2 and 1.6.
So he would be owed the 3.2, and then the next year he would be owed the 1.6. That's all we would have to pay him. So everything else would be off the books. So again, if he's due 11 million 1 year, and then the next year he's also due 11 million, we would save 8.5 million the first year, and then we wouldn't have to pay the 10 million the second year, obviously, because he's not on the team.
Right.
But so the 3.2 and the 1 point whatever, the team would still owe him. So it would still be on the salary cap, but the way the salary cap's going up, who cares about 1.2 million?
Yeah.
We've had that conversation of, to me, it's one of those, anything over 5 million, you're kind of keeping the guy. If you're saving 8 to dead cap 3, you're going to cut him unless he's really valuable to the team. Same thing, if dead cap is 1 million, so like that last year, if the cap is 1 million and then you could save 10 million, you're going to cut them. It's one of those where as long as you're saving over 5 million, to me, most teams are cutting that guy.
Gotcha. All right, JC, let's take a quick break. And on the other side of the break, we're going to talk Chicago baseball, the Chicago Cubs, and the Chicago White Sox. And then we'll wrap it up with some Bulls talk and some wrestling news. So keep it here. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hey there, Chicago enthusiasts. Are you ready to take your fandom to the next level? The True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast has got you covered with some serious cool merch that screams Chicago pride. From cozy sweaters to trendy tank tops, we got it all. Show off your love for the city with our iconic red, white, and blue logo, or stand out with our exclusive collection for the love of sports. Whether you're lounging at home, breaking a sweat at the gym, or cheering on your team at a game, our gear is a must-have for all you diehard Chicago sports fans out there. Don't hesitate. Visit bonfire.com/store/606-media-store/, or simply just click the link in the description and snag your gear ASAP. Get ready to make some noise, show your pride, and embrace the Chicago spirit with True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast merch. Designed for you, the ultimate fan, for the love of sports. Hey guys, it's Steven.
And this is Sean, and you are listening to True Chicago Sports Fans.
Don't forget to listen to No War on the Weekend. New episodes on Monday. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, so we're going to go do a couple of shots. So let's kick it back over to Big Z.
Well, thank you, Sean. Stevie B actually had to go to a wake today for a family member that passed away. So we want to give our condolences to Stevie B and his family. I know he's taking care of that. And, I'll text him later to see how he's doing. But let's talk about our Chicago baseball team. So let's start off with the Chicago Cubs, which is your team, JC. They've been on a roll. They've been playing really good games and some really exciting games, especially when in the eighth inning, a team scores a bunch of runs on them, and then they tweet about it. The team tweets about it. And then the Cubs come back and score as many runs and tweet the same tweet back at everybody else. That was a fun game to follow on X because I don't have the marquee channel. And I got to talk to JC off air about the other stuff. But definitely a fun team to watch. Kyle Tucker is the real thing. Sign the man. Get that man to the table. Make sure his wife gets a bunch of perks. And make sure that man stays in Chicago because Kyle Tucker is the real deal. And to be honest,
and while we're at it, pay Pete Crow Armstrong as well.
They tried to. The kid said no, and rightfully so. Rightfully so.
But still, come on. Like
the kid just came up.
Get him back to the table. Pete Crow is.
I don't like paying guys at the beginning because we seen what happened with the White Sox. They paid Yohan Moncada, Eloy Jimenez, and Luis Robert, and all these guys when they were coming up without any production done at the major league level. And look where we're at now. So again,
to me, Pete Crow, his defensive skills, his speed on the base path, everything like that. I mean,
he's a stud.
His bat is, but it's all the things he does. Other than just that, that's why Javier Baez was so exciting for the Cubs all those years. And then, as the years went on, his bat became suspect and he's swinging at stuff, that's pitched in the other batter's box. But, it was the thing that I always loved about Baez was his tagging ability on stolen bases.
Oh, God.
And all the spectacular tags, right? And his play at shortstop. To me, like that was Baez's bag. Like the offense, like that was a plus too. But like as a defensive player, Baez was amazing.
He's still a pretty good defensive player.
Right.
Yeah, and he had a pretty good tag.
I mean, like that's the thing with Pete Crow Armstrong is his speed on the base pass and his ability to cover center field and all of that and cover ground in the outfield is top notch. What he's doing right now, producing with his bat, just is, cream on top of the cookie. It's the extra.
It definitely is the extra. And again, this is a well-constructed team as far as defense, and I think the offense, as you've seen in the last couple of games, has been very potentful. They've been able to keep swinging and putting up runs. They've done it against the best teams. We've talked about this for this entire month of April, and I said this is going to be the hardest schedule that they see. playing the number one teams. They played San Diego twice. They played they're going to play the Dodgers again this week. Arizona being another tough team. Everybody in the West, except for Colorado, is a really good team to play against. They're all 12-7 or above. They're really good out there. That division is going to be a drag knockout fight, a bar fight that's going to go as far as everyone stays healthy. It's going to be a really good fight all the way through to the end of the season. And then you're going to see who's going to add, right? Is San Diego going to add? Are they going to trade Dylan Cease? Are they in it or out, right? They got to pick a lane because he's on his last year of his contract. Arizona adding Josh Naylor. Bo Naylor stayed in Cleveland. They added some more pitching arms that's come back from last year from injury. They were in the World Series a couple years ago, so they are a very well constructed team as well. Again, the West is stacked, and the Cubs are keeping up with this team with the crappiest bullpen. Because you don't give up 10 runs with having a good bullpen.
We've beaten this horse till it's dead, resurrected, and we've beaten it to death again. We've been talking about our middle relief and closers now for I don't know what, a month. About
a year.
Yeah, I was gonna say about a year. But like we've been harping on it again for about a month now that we talk about, we had the Kimbrel and we had the closers, there for the World Series. But for the past couple of years, we really haven't had a closer that can come in and just close it out and guarantee the win. Hopefully we'll be able to trade for someone, pre trade deadline.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to fix that. To me, middle relief is really what the Cubs need. Like I said, that if we have a closer leave in the fifth, it's that getting to the eighth, ninth inning, that I really see as a major issue for us right now. Because like I said, even the game we watched, where we give up 10 runs in the eighth.
I was laughing. I'm like, 10 runs? You got 10 spotted? Jesus.
Yeah.
The White Sox don't do that.
Easy. The White Sox.
We have no offense.
But we discuss this all the time, and it's one of those where we keep hoping that the Cubs are going to eventually solve the issue, and they never do. But we also talk about, and I've mentioned now in the past couple of podcasts that yes, we draft hitters, we draft positional players in our drafts, but hardly ever do we draft a pitcher that is worth anything.
How many times are you sending videos of these awesome pitchers in high school pitching 104 miles an hour?
Yeah, that kid's a local Chicago kid. He's right here in our backyard, and he's supposed to go in like the top 20 of the draft. So Cubs, come on now. I know, I don't know where will we be picking in the draft, but I would assume maybe mid round. I don't know where the Cubs will be drafting, but if this kid falls to us, he's throwing 102 and he's not even out of high school. Again, I don't want to put it out there on the air and whatever, but it's one of those, he's a local Chicago kid and he's getting a lot of hype right now. As a senior throwing like 102 miles an hour. And to me, it's like, this is a kid. He's in your backyard. You should be scouting him hard. Yeah. But I did also see a video recently that he had like 62 scouts at a recent game. So, some of them better be Cubs, scouts.
Yeah. Well, obviously if you don't know, you can be drafted by an MLB team while in high school. And then it's up to you if you want to, just keep that status, or you can let it go. If you go to college, then you can be redrafted the next year by another team. But it's going to cost somebody if they redraft you, right? So the Cubs are drafting at number 17 this year in the draft. So that'll be during the
There you
All-Star.
go. So if this kid's due to go in the top 20, 17 would do it.
17 would do it. The Cubs have been adding to the bullpen. They traded for lefty Tom Cosgrove earlier in the year, and now today they traded for a in a minor league deal for Mariners lefty Drew Pomeranz. Pomeranz had an upward mobility clause with the Mariners, so they needed to offer him to every other clubs. If you want to put him on your major league roster, you can trade up, right? That was the clause that he had in his contract. So if the team was willing to bring him to the majors, they could trade for him, or the Mariners had to trade him, bring him up. So he also pitched for Craig Counsell Milwaukee in 2019. So it looks like Craig Counsell and his staff are doing their due diligence and bring guys that they know can be dependable. So they're gonna be adding arms throughout the year, and they have to. Are they gonna get a big guy, a big arm right now? I don't know. But Justin Steele just went on he just went UCL.
And that's exactly what I was going to bring up is, with Justin Steele going down, we have the kid in AAA, Horton.
Yeah, Kate Horton.
When are we bringing him up?
Yeah.
They
have Ben Johnson as well. They're going to put some stopgaps before they absolutely have to feel like they have to rush him up. Maybe they don't think he's ready. I don't know what his numbers off the top of my head.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is right. He was supposed to have come up last year, and then he ended up getting hurt,
right.
And then they never brought him up. And then, the news is, oh, we're going to bring him up this year, or, the speculation is he should be coming up this year. Well, with Justin Steele going down, I don't know what we're really waiting on, unless he's really struggling coming back from this injury. And he's not doing very well in the minors. This is something I'd have to look into more, because, unlike the NFL, I'm not the biggest MLB nerd. I'm a Cubs fan, but, I'm not as big of a baseball nerd as football because, there's just too many games, and I work evenings and days, and, it's hard for me to keep up with the MLB season a lot of times. That I keep aware of like where the Cubs are at in everything, but again, you lose focus on some things where the NFL season, it's one game a week, and it's always on Monday, Sunday, or Thursday.
Yeah. So he's doing okay. He's 1-1 with a 1.46 ERA in 3 games. He started 3 games. He's 1-1. So I mean, the offense wasn't there, but he's pitching at 1.46, which is really, really good in 12 innings, 3 games. That's where I'm worried about. 3 games, 12 innings. So he's going 4 innings. Either they're managing his arm, or they don't feel confident enough that he's at full strength to go a little further. So I mean, he's also struck 18. So you're looking at 6 strikeouts a game. So I think it's good. I think they're just going to stretch him out a little further before they bring him up. But in my opinion, I think that the Cubs definitely need to continue to get more arms at Wrigley, because Tyson Miller, relief pitcher, last week went down with 15 days over a hip issue. Javier Assad, 15-day with oblique issue. On the 15th, you had Eli Morgan, 15-day IL. On the 11th, you had Ryan Bracer, 15-day. I mean, like, it's just a lot of injuries to a lot of their pitchers. And I know they're not marquee names, but at the same time, you do need guys that eat up innings, especially when there is times, and I'm not making light of this, there is times where you are going to get rocked. You are going to give up, 5, 6, 7 runs in an inning, right? You have a bad night, have an off night. It happens to every team. So for the most part, the Cubs have been dominating, but there is times the Padres put a 10 spot on them. Let's see. I mean, 7, 10 runs. Yeah, the Diamondbacks again put 10 runs on them on March 30th. There's a couple games where they're giving up a lot of runs. 6 runs to the Rangers. Again, These are teams that are very
it's an issue if the closer can't go 6-7 innings, it becomes an issue for the Cubs where that middle relief they're going to give up runs, and
that starter definitely needs to go 6 innings max. If you can push it to 7, great. I know it's early in the season and some managers do not want to push it, but at the same time, we do not want your bullpen getting overworked in April and in May.
Yeah, we already discussed that they're pushing Shota, 6-7 innings. Even though he keeps the pitch count low, it's still working innings.
Yeah, that's your workhorse. You do not want him injured going into August and September, because you will be a playoff team while it's a wild card or the division. You're gonna need all your horses in that playoff series. So again, everyone knows I'm not a Cub fan. I watch both teams as much as I can. If the Cubs ain't playing the White Sox, hey, go for it. Unless they're playing the Dodgers, I'm cheering against. I'm gonna cheer for the Cubs unless they're playing the Dodgers, and they are playing the Dodgers tomorrow, 6:40 at Wrigley, and 6 p.m. on Wednesday. I'm trying to see. Can I go Wednesday? I'm not sure yet. Then they got the Phillies.
I'm trying to go Saturday if possible. We'll see.
That's against the Phillies. They play that 3-game series. I know you want to get that scoreboard with the little Cubby Bear thing on it.
Yep.
It looks cool.
Yeah, I think it look cool, like up here,
it does look cool. That really does. Yeah. They finished the month of April with the Pirates, who they should beat. I think the Pirates are kind of like the White Sox, where they have great pitching and waste it away, and then it ends up on the Yankees. Scanes is gonna go somewhere else. It's just a waste what Pittsburgh does with their pitching. That's a whole tangent. Like, everybody that's been a great pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates has gone off to play for the Yankees or Tampa Bay or something.
I think in Pittsburgh they have another kid that's in the minors that's due to come up, and he basically said, like, hey, Skeens, next year I'm going to be the opening starter. Like, he's already talking trash from the lower leagues.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
He's going to come up and be the opening day starter instead of Skeens. So, but that's the thing. Like, this is what we were saying, is the Cubs need to get out there and draft some guys that will put up a fight, and like I said, right now we're waiting on Horton to get pulled up. But when you go look at like the draft prospects, for the Cubs farm system, not a lot of pitchers on that top 25 or top 10 prospect.
Right, and then you have a logjam in the outfield, which is what you have in the minor leagues as studs that should be coming up. So you have nowhere to put them. So what they're trade chips. They're trade chips because everyone is signed for multiple years. So either make a decision and trade one of those outfield, and I don't think you're going to do that. You're not trading Pete Crow Armstrong. You're not trading Seiya Suzuki. You're not trading Kyle Tucker.
You're not trading Hap.
You're not trading definitely not Hap. Hap's been raking. I mean, you're not trading Tucker because you want to re-sign him. So where are these young boys going?
But at the same time, like come trade deadline, like, Tuck, you signing with us, or what are we doing here?
Right, and the Cubs literally, and I know the GM is on a hot seat, and this is his win now trade. You gave up a really good asset to the Astros, and he's already been called up, at the beginning of the season. Yeah. I don't know what his stats are right now, but
he wasn't doing very well. But again, he's a young player.
Right, he's a rookie.
Playing.
Kyle Tucker is the best. Like, if free agency started today, he's the best free agent available.
Yes, absolutely.
So just sign him now. It'll be cheaper to sign him now than if he has a 50 home run season for the Cubs. And
I think that's why Tucker's waiting, is because Tucker's like, hey, I'm playing in Wrigley Field with short fence lines, and I'm gonna rake 50 home runs in Wrigley Field.
Hopefully.
Because
I'm cheering for the guy.
Yeah, and look, you know what? Every single Cubs fan right now is saying, pay the man, pay him.
Yes, I sent a nice meme that had John Cena that said, hey, Cubs owners, pay Kyle Tucker, you cheap, you know what? And I sent it to Cody. You know, Cody was on our show. He's a huge Cub fan. He's always there in the bleachers. He laughed it off. He's like, "This is great." Yeah, a White Sox fan wants you to get a good player. Yes, I do, because when the Cubs are doing well, I'm happy for them because then I can focus on
I
the
mean,
White Sox.
it brings a different vibe, a
It
different
does.
feel to the city.
Also, it's a long season. How many times are both teams just crappy? And then you're like, why? There's no reason to watch baseball. Okay, well, I'm gonna do something else.
Yeah, I mean, like, not to talk trash about last year. I mean, we did okay, but like it was one of those, like, I never really was like, oh, I need to go to a game. Like the Cubs are amazing this year,
Yeah.
It was one of those where it's like, all right, if I go to a game, great. If I don't, like
Exactly.
it's just one of those, same thing with the Bulls,
Stuck with
great. Like the Bulls are mediocre every single year, and
Yep.
it is what it is. But when the Cubs, like that World Series, team for those 3-4 years, with Rizzo and Bryant and Baez and Contreras, like it was just different. Like there was a different vibe in the city of like,
Yes.
we
It's
need to go to a Cubs game. We need
it's
to
equivalent to when the
be a
Bears are
bleacher
good. The
bum.
city is humming in joy when the Bears and the Cubs are good. Those are facts. Those are facts. Okay. Simple as that. Right now that the Bears are on the upswing, the city is just drooling for football season. I want to enjoy my summer, people. I want to enjoy the summer. All right. I love hot weather. I do not like cold weather, but I do love football season. I'm all about it. And I know I'm not as big a nerd as JC, but I can watch any NFL game and enjoy it. That's how much I enjoy the NFL. I can watch any MLB game. I still enjoy it. Yes, I still watch White Sox baseball. That should tell you how much I watch, how much I love MLB. I watch White Sox baseball.
I wouldn't admit that.
All right, let's talk a little bit of the White Sox. They had a matinee game today because it was a getaway day with the Boston Red Sox. They lost 2-4. They scored in the first inning. And then a Walker Buehler, former Dodger pitcher, is now with the Red Sox, shut them down. Again, the Red Sox are an average team. I think they have a lot of talent. I think they will be competing for a wild card. Right now, they're 13-11. The White Sox are 5-17. 5-17. If my memory is correct, I think they only won yesterday. Was the only game they've won on the road. All other games have been won at home, and they are the second worst team in baseball, right behind Colorado. I'm assuming. Yep, Colorado has 4 wins. We have 5 wins, and it's bad because even now the kid that they brought up, Chase Mydruff, in the Crochet trade, is going down on a 10-day IL with a thumb injury. I injured my thumb today in floor hockey too. Martin Perez, they don't even know he went for an MRI. They didn't even wait for the results. They put him. He went from a 15 to 60-day IL today. Austin Slater also 10-day IL on April 16th. Josh Rojas, who they signed, got injured in spring training. Still hasn't made his White Sox debut. Mike Tauchman did come back this week, man, from his grade 2 hamstring issue. He had a couple hits. So I want Mike Tauchman to do well for the White Sox so that way we can flip him for more assets. So if you want Mike Tauchman back, you know that. Corey Lee is going to spend some time on the IL as well. He rolled his ankle. He should be back coming next week. But it's been just bad news after bad news. And I don't mind close losses. A 4-2, that's a close loss. When you get demolished and just put, 10-3, 8-0, the 12-3, like this. I'm talking this past week. The Athletics put 12 runs on the White Sox. The Athletics, they don't even have a home. They're homeless, and they just put 12 runs on you. Come on. Then they put 3 runs the next day, and then 8 runs after that. So you're looking at what, 24 runs? What? Yeah, my math is right. Yeah, 25 runs, whatever it is, in a series, and you scored 4 against the Red Sox. They put 10-4-4-4. 22 runs on you. They have the worst run differential, while the Cubs have the best run differential, best in MLB. That's why they're an exciting team, because they score runs. They hit dingers, right? That's what they do. The White Sox look to play the Twins tomorrow at 6:40. They have a 3-game series. Then they go to wherever the Athletics play, the homeless tents. And then they come home to play the Brewers on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then host the garbage banging Astros. For the Cinco de Mayo, it will be the Royals. So not much to say about the White Sox. They did release Clevenger. They might pick up one of the pitchers from Cleveland. I can't remember his name. I just had it at the tip of my tongue. But Bauer's still out there. Our boy Bauer's still out there.
No. He doesn't want to play for the White Sox.
No. But he can go to the Cubs. He can be the 5th starter for the Cubs. Take a flyer.
Well, I read something that Bauer actually got put on IL or something. And is he playing in Korea again? I think.
He's playing overseas.
He got demoted or put back on a 10 or 15-day IL, and someone was speculating because he was out of shape, or a reason other than
out of shape. That dude's putting pitching videos every other day.
Yeah, but it's one of those where stamina, that kind of thing.
They sell pills for that.
Maybe too many cheeseburgers. Because a photo I saw, he was, which, I mean, let's be honest, as guys age, as they get closer to that 30, 35 years of age, you're not, you do get a dad bod a little bit. So, it was kind of one of those, they were insinuating that, he might be a little bit out of shape, but, we'll see. It could be an injury as well. There was speculation it was because he was out of shape, but believe me, Trevor Bauer will let us know on social media soon enough. Yeah, for whatever reason he has been sent down.
Yeah, Trevor, hit us up, Trevor. You can be on the podcast. Come on, we want to know what's going on.
I've sent him Twitter stuff of every time we mention him.
Yeah,
I'll clip it and send it to him. I've never gotten a response, but
it's okay. You keep clipping and keep sending it to him. Be persistent.
Yeah. I like I said, I'm all for Trevor Bauer coming to the Cubs, being our 5th starter, playing for league minimum, and
and he'll be playing for a winner. So he can hide behind all the stars that are there. He doesn't have to be the number one guy. He doesn't have to be in front of the camera. Let everyone else do their thing, and you just come in and what does he say? Sword, right?
Sword. Sword is his big thing. Yeah,
right. And then we can sell T-shirts with swords on them, and come on, let's go. Let's go.
Look, was it Suzuki was out there batting?
Yeah, with a sword over there in Japan. Yeah, exactly.
So here we got a guy throwing swords and one guy swinging swords. So
as long as you don't cross your swords, we're okay.
Lightsabers.
All right, JC, let's take another quick break. And on the flip side of that, we're going to talk a little bit about our Bulls and some wrestling, and then we're going to get out of here because it is a late night tonight. But stay with us. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hey there, Chicago enthusiasts. Are you ready to take your fandom to the next level? The True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast has got you covered with some serious cool merch that screams Chicago pride. From cozy sweaters to trendy tank tops, we got it all. Show off your love for the city with our iconic red, white, and blue logo, or stand out with our exclusive collection for the love of sports. Whether you're lounging at home, breaking a sweat at the gym, or cheering on your team at a game, our gear is a must-have for all you diehard Chicago sports fans out there. Don't hesitate. Visit bonfire.com/store/606-media-store/ or simply just click the link in the description and snag your gear ASAP. Get ready to make some noise, show your pride, and embrace the Chicago spirit with True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast merch. Designed for you, the ultimate fan, for the love of sports.
What up? It's Martin Moreno, and you are listening to True Chicago Sports Fans Podcast.
Welcome back to the TCSF podcast with Big Z and JC, Dynasty Fantasy Football. Actually, I did see Martin last Monday. That's why we recorded this past Sunday.
I was so upset. I wanted to go, and
it was.
I didn't know if I was gonna. I didn't know if I was gonna have. I was supposed to be jury duty the very next day.
Yeah.
So I found out like at like 6 p.m. I did not have jury duty the next day, and I was like, damn it. Like, so I missed out for nothing. And at the same time, but then I ended up later on that evening by like 10:30 p.m. I started getting like a sinus thing, and I ended up sick all last week anyway. So,
yeah, we didn't stay out too late. It was a good time. I think doors opened like at 6, I believe. Show went on around 7:15. Great food. They had a limited menu, but it was still great food. You know, I got to some little appetizers. We got some wok. Some empanadas, some tamales. I had a bowl of pozole, which is hominy soup. Oh, it was great. It was great. Definitely a good time. Martin and Hooter were amazing. Had a great time. Otto, who is the owner of the restaurant, definitely was very great host. And it was a great time. Again, if they come back, they usually come back around April. They might come back when it's a little colder. Usually, I want to say January. If not,
I think I saw something like the day before. They were in like Oklahoma City.
Oh yeah, so they were. Martin and Hooter had a show at Zany's in Rosemont on Sunday. Friday and Saturday they were in Oklahoma City, and they both did a set for Fluffy out there.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool.
So I was like, man, these guys are on planes, you know, like.
Yeah. Or I mean, I think they do drive around if it's local, like if it's like.
Yeah, but if you're in Oklahoma City, you're not driving to Chicago.
No. That's not a fun drive. That is not a fun drive. Yeah, but Bulls. Let's talk about Chicago Bulls. They officially now hold the number 12 slot in the 2025 lottery. NBA held its tiebreakers for the 5 non-playoff teams that finished with identical records this season. Monday, Chicago ended with the same 39-43 tally as the Dallas Mavericks, who lost in the play-in tournament. And a coin flip landed in favor of the Mavericks. So even at that, we lose.
Really? Because I thought I read something today that if the Mavericks lose,
well, they did lose,
that we move up to 11. So I didn't know it was based on a coin flip.
Yeah, it was based because they have the same exact record. And so
because I read something today that there was a chance that we would move from like 1.4% to 1.7% or whatever ridiculous number that was like when we ended up getting Derrick Rose. It was the impossible odds.
Yeah, we have a 1.7 chance of earning the number 1 pick in the 2025 draft and an 8.1% chance to move into the top 4. So you're saying there's a chance.
Listen, I said to my guys, in group chat today, that even if we could get a top 5 pick, there would be some late night shenanigans with tissues involved, of excitement.
Oh man, I just don't know how this administration, AK and Mark Eversley, well, you've never seen. I think he's been on the radio a couple times, but I've never seen him besides his photo op picture when he got hired. And AK, who comes on at the end of the season, is like, yeah, we got 26 games to play and we're gonna play them. And come on, dude. There's been 4 coaches who've won championships in the last 7 years who all been fired after 1 or 2 seasons because they couldn't win another championship. And this team has been in the middle of the road, under 40 games for 5 seasons, and you still have your job, and you didn't make a trade for 3 seasons, and you are going into another kind of retool rebuild. Vooch is coming back. You need another big man, so you might have to trade him. And then what are you going to get from him? He's an aging veteran, and the big guy game is no longer, exciting. It's all about run and gun, shooting threes, and playing no defense. And I know we had a great run until the playoffs, but when you get to the playoffs and you have to play a half-court set and your young kids can't play a half-court set, it showed and how they were getting blown out by Miami. They literally shut down Kobe and let everyone else score. And if you can have Kobe shut down and not score 30 points because he's technically the only star on there because Lonzo Ball didn't play. And then we were short IO. Everyone else, Giddey did well. He was playing with a torn or a strained or torn ligament in his shooting hand.
Yeah, I think it was his thumb or something.
Yeah, around the thumb area. Buzelis is a rookie. He did what he could. Again, Buzelis is his stock is rising. It's great.
Oh, absolutely.
Giddey, you've got to sign him. He's like 20, 21, 22. You've got to sign him.
Yeah. Yeah, there's talks of, Giddey, again, in the NBA,
He's restricted.
I don't know what it is, but if he's 25 million a year, 30 million a year, whatever it is, he's worth it. The guy's almost done.
Patrick Williams 90. You gave Patrick Williams 90 and he's trash.
Yeah.
Pay
No, I'm
the
talking
guy
like
he's
25
good.
mil per year, 30 million a year.
Give it to him.
The guy's out there almost getting triple doubles or quadruple doubles every game.
Yep.
Like this is, when I talked about, we haven't had a point guard since Derrick Rose, we had, the Rondo years and whatever. This is the point guard I'm talking about.
Yep.
That we have been needing for the past 10, 15 years since Derrick Rose left us. Like this is the point guard we have needed. So we cannot let him walk. We cannot let him leave.
You can't depend on Lonzo.
No. Look,
coming off the
Lonzo can be a sixth man. He can be the guy off the bench.
Yeah.
He can be the defensive guy, in the fourth quarter, late minutes. But Giddey is the guy he is the guy on the floor. He is the floor general at all times. Like, unless he's resting for, 2 minutes, 5 minutes at the end of the quarter, etc. But he is the guy that you want to build around. Him and Buzelis. Kobe, Kobe White, yes, we want to keep him, but is he the guy we want to build around? I don't know.
Kobe?
Yeah.
You don't think he's worth building around?
It's one of those where, like, he is fantastic. He is phenomenal, like, in August. But at the end of the season, like, he comes alive. Putting up.
I remember we still had Zach LaVine.
Yes,
and that's breathing all the oxygen in the room. He went from
year, we'll see what he does. But it's one of those, because like I just, it's one of those where Kobe's kind of streaky. I feel like that it's one of those where it's like, I don't know that he's a true piece I want to build around. Like, I want to keep him. I want to have him and see what the progression is next year. But it's one of those where it's like, Buzelis is one of those guys where it's like, he's already flashing, where it's like, no, that's a guy I kind of want to build around. Giddey is flashing, where it's like, that's a guy I want to build around. Kobe, it's like, it's that up and down roller coaster where it's like, I want to build something with him, and then he falls off, and it's like, well, where'd he go?
Well, he fell off at the beginning of the season because they made him a point guard instead of a shooting guard, because Zach was a shooting guard and had the ball all the time. So, and then you're bringing other pieces in with Giddey, and there was a lot of inconsistency, especially after the trade, right? So he averaged this year 20.4 for a career high. And in the last 26 games, averaged 25 points a game.
Yeah.
Again,
like
he's going for the last year of his deal. Last year of his deal, only making 12.9.
It's that we're like, hey, I'm doing 35 points this game. And then like 3 games later, or, whatever, he'll be averaging 14 a game, and it's like, well, how did you go from 34 a game to 14 a game? Where
it's again, this is the new NBA. Believe me, I lost a lot of bets on guys that are supposed to average 28 points, and then they'll have a 12-point game. They're not the same players of the 90s and the early 2000s where you can literally set your watch to someone scoring 25 or 30 points a game, right?
Yeah.
You knew Jordan was going to get his 28.9 points per game because you're like, if Jordan wants to, he can score 60, or if he's playing within the offense, he's going to get 28 to 30 points. You can set your watch to it. These guys are run and gun, inconsistent. Look at Steph. Steph will score 61 game and then 8 another game because he's in. So it is boom or bust with the new NBA, and Kobe White is a very streaky shooter. And if he's
right,
on,
and that's why I said like it's one of those like I kind of want to build around him, but at the same time, it's like I'm wary of like, dude, we already paid Patrick Williams $90 million, and he's trash. So
he's got to get moved this offseason.
Yeah, so
you've got to move him. You've got to move him.
Nobody's gonna take that contract.
You're gonna end up taking some depth pieces to fill up your roster with bad contracts. But I'd rather have some old veterans that can play 4 or 5 minutes a game than his trash ass game of I can't shoot a three, I can't rebound, I can't dribble. What good are you? You're not good to the team.
Yeah, I mean, he was touted pretty well, if I remember correctly.
He was a sixth man in Florida, and that's what he can't even be a sixth man. Dude, he's the 11th man on this roster. He should be giving everybody water and towels. Like, nope. Kid, you could sit in his seat. Patrick Williams, go give water and towels.
Again, this is the problem, is then how did we end up paying him?
Because they
you're
always do that. They did that with Felicio.
This kid has been in your facility for 3 or 4 years, and you're telling me you didn't see the fact that he's not worth $90 million. You're telling me you sat there and watched him practice in and out, day to day, every single day, and you're telling me you didn't see he doesn't have it?
They liked his big hands.
I don't care about hands. Like, I don't give a shit. All right. If he can't box people out, if he can't freaking rebound, if he can't do the simple things that a big man is supposed to do, and I've got guys like Terry or whoever that are coming up from the G League and outplaying him, you're telling me that you sat there and said, I've seen enough in 3 or 4 years from this guy. I'm going to sign him to a $90 million contract.
Well, that's the problem that I don't trust this administration with Chicago Bulls. He was a restricted free agent. You should have let him go. Go find a contract, bro.
Yes.
Go find a contract.
Yes.
And then be like, yeah, we're not going to pay that. Bye. See you later. But no, they didn't do that. They just re-signed him without letting him go through the process. He was never that good. He's not a Kyle Tucker. We don't let him walk out the door.
Right. And that's what I'm trying to say is like, there are certain guys like Giddey and Kobe and Buzelis. You see what they're doing already in a very short period of time with the Bulls. They're outproducing him. Bar none, they are outproducing him.
Yeah.
But again, look, and look, I'm no scout. I'm not a professional scout, but I'm pretty sure I could have sat in on your practices and been like, yo, that guy over there who we're paying $3 million a year is outplaying this guy who's younger, stronger, was a higher pick.
Yep.
And I can't pay this guy. There's no way I can pay him. But yet you didn't let the guy walk and bring you back a contract. You said, no, he's too important. We got to pay him $30 million a year, or what was it, a 3-year contract, 90 million? I know it's 90 million, but I don't know the year term.
I think it's $490 million.
Or for 90. Still 90 million over 4 years.
Yeah,
is
like
still
18.
excessive for a guy who plays 5 to 10 minutes a game, if that.
Yeah.
And
So
and we kept trying to push him with minutes until we got Buzelis. Like the past couple of years, we were pushing minutes on this guy, and he still wasn't performing.
no, not at all. Well, again, they should either do two things with Giddey. Be like, all right, look, we're going to give you 5 years, 150. I like the numbers. Cool. Or you let him go get a contract offer, and let's say it's lower, and I go, all right, we'll match it. Let's say he gets 120 million. 5 years. Maybe he's not valued that much in the NBA. Whatever. You can still match it or go above.
Not going to be valued.
I know, but you're not going to lose him by letting him go talk to other teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
the
the
market.
biggest thing is if he's a restricted free agent and you're not going to lose him, go let him talk.
Yeah, he wants 30 million. You're going to see what he's worth.
Look,
Maybe he's not worth 30. Maybe he's worth 25.
Don't bid against yourselves and don't outbid yourselves.
Oh my God.
Let the kid go talk to other teams. And then when he comes back as a restricted free agent, then you go, hey, you know what? We understand the Orlando Magic are offering this. We're willing to offer you $10 million more on the total contract. So that's, if it's a 4-year contract, 10 million over 4, it's an extra $1 million, $2 million a year, on the contract, per year. And you call it a day. But don't do like you did with Patrick Williams and be like, oh, you're a restricted free agent. No. Don't go find your value. We're going to pay you 90 million. No, dude, if I'm another, now don't get me wrong, another team can say, hey, Giddey, we want to pay you 200 million. And then you kind of shoot yourself in the foot because maybe he would have taken 150 from you, the Bulls. Now he knows, oh, I could get 200 over here. So now he wants, whatever from you. So yes, there is the chance that a team can put a contract out there that, could hurt the Bulls in the long run. But at the same time, you also don't want to bid against yourselves and overpay. If the NBA comes back to you and says, hey, we think this guy's worth $28 million a year as a consensus across, multiple teams. Well, hey, you know what? Then we're going to pay you $28 million a year because we also think you're worth what the NBA thinks you're worth.
Yep. And that's why that clause is in there. Restricted free agent where you can match or let them go.
Yeah. But like I said, I mean, what they did with Pat Will, Jesus.
Atrocious as far as bad contracts in Chicago sports.
Yeah, I mean, they're out there. There's been plenty of those in Chicago. Cubs have done it, with
Jason
a couple.
Hayward.
Well, Nomar Garcia Parra and Soriano, and there's a few out there that Soriano did okay, I guess, but still a lot of money to the guy. Hayward definitely, was never the same after getting hit in the face by a pitch.
Yeah.
Like I said, the Bulls. Yeah, this is probably the one time I can think of that the Bulls really have made a bad contract.
Yeah, Felicio. He was the same thing. He was getting to like 25 million a year.
Yeah.
There's another one, but he never played. I mean, whatever. Anyways. Those the Bulls what is it called? The lottery picks that will be in Chicago, and then the actual draft. I forgot what city that's going to be later on in the year. But
when's the lottery happen?
It should be like during the finals, the week before the finals or the week of the finals.
So in the next couple weeks or
so like the next 3 weeks.
All right, because that's all we have hope for is like I said, get me up to the 8th pick. I'd be happy.
It'd be hilarious. Let's say they do get the number 1 pick. They don't know what to do with Cooper Flag. And I don't want to get into a discussion. I'm just saying they don't know what to do with the kid because I don't think Billy Donovan's that great of a coach. That's just my opinion.
You kick Cooper Flag, you're firing Billy Donovan.
And I'm hiring
at least I would.
And I'm hiring Jason Kidd, who just walked away from the Mavericks for that stupid ass trade.
That to me is like if I get a top 5 pick and like I'm getting a stud, I'm gonna be like, yeah, Billy, we gotta let you go.
Yeah, we're gonna go get a real coach.
They're not gonna respect you.
No, we want a coach who actually has won and has been a proven winner.
Yeah,
sorry for you.
Like I said, I mean, Buzelis was, I got to give it to AK and them for that pick last year. Buzelis is definitely, for where we picked him at, like, what was it, 11?
Mm-hmm.
He has panned out pretty damn well. So, it's one of those, I give you credit for that, but I take away credit because, this other nonsense that you do.
Their account is completely negative. Okay. Yeah. You've had one deposit into your bank account and there's been a lot of overdrafts. Okay.
Well, like I said, you know what? We got Giddy for Caruso. That's a positive.
That was a great trade. And I knew it was a great trade because we knew that Caruso he's a great player. Love him on the team. Great defensive player. Can help you in the playoffs. But he cannot stay healthy for the duration of 82 games. Neither can Lonzo Ball. Neither can Zach LaVine. DeMar was at the end of his career, so he was getting banged up. You literally had an injury-prone team.
Yeah. Like I said, the fact that we didn't get really compensation for some of the guys, barely getting our own first back, et cetera, for whatever. Although the Bears the Bulls had a better record at the end of the year than Levine had where he went. So
yeah, but they lost the playing game the same year the same day that the Bulls did. So they technically lost 3 years in a row in a playoff game. It just was a matter of different hours. So all right.
Well, like I think for all the trash we talked about, like, dude, how could you not even get a first for this guy? Or how could you not even? And then it turns out, like, Levine is who we thought he was, the man in the mirror. As bringing back my old saying, he is the man in the mirror. He's got to look himself in the mirror and say, I am the problem. We got rid of the problem, the ISO ball, this trash, whatever. We have a guy in Giddy now that can distribute the ball to the guys that need to get the ball, and we score. Now the Bulls, again, I got to give some pluses that we got Giddy. They drafted Buzelis. So there are some pluses, but their negatives are long outweighed. And it's one of those where, it's still, they should be fired and get me a competent GM, especially, if like I said, if we get a pick higher than what we're supposed to, like we're at 12 right now, and we end up at, somewhere between 5 and 8. Yeah, I'm definitely firing them.
I'm going to get somebody from Miami Heat or because they have under Pat Riley, someone that's been studying under Pat Riley, someone that's been studying under, I forget who the GM for, he was the coach, and Brad Stevens. He's in Boston. I was going to say
Boston is.
Yes. You want someone who has a bunch of, or even Oklahoma City.
I was going to say OKC. Like
they had 17 draft picks, number 1 draft picks, and starting like 5 years ago. And look what they've turned their team into. Even Detroit. Look what Detroit's done. They were playing before we got on the air, and they're playing New York, and they're playing them really tough. Bunch of young kids. Those are the GMs that you want. You want those next guys who have been studying under GMs who have produced well-rounded drafts and been able to sign players. So that'd be nice. That would really be nice. If it was for the White Sox, for the Bulls,
the Cubs, the Bears.
No, I think the Bears are in good shape. I really think the Bears are in good shape. So If there's one team that I'm not worried about, it would be the Bears and the Blackhawks. They usually do.
We're gonna find out this week. We're gonna find out very
We're
soon.
gonna find out on Thursday. So
And
definitely,
we've won the off season.
Yes.
Let's see if we can win the draft. You know.
yeah, we got to continue to win. So before we get out of here, I just want to address. I'm a big wrestling fan, and WrestleMania week was this past weekend. There was 2 nights, really good matches all over the board, both on the women and the men's side. There was guys that got injured, and there were some replacements that were surprises. They were great, but I just want to touch on the last match, which was the John Cena defeating Cody Rhodes to win the Undisputed Championship for the 17th time in his career. Yes, I know it's scripted, guys. It's fake. No, it's predetermined. There's still athletes that are performing. They're doing their thing. Is it scripted? Yeah. So is every fucking movie and every show that you watch on TV. All right. So get over yourself. It's entertaining.
All right, let's do this. Anyone that says it's fake, all right, I'm gonna put a small cloth over your outside deck.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want you to jump in the air and fall on your back on top of your deck.
Yep.
And then I want you to tell me it's fake.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Look, yes, like Zuazo said, it is predetermined. It is, everybody knows what's about to happen. Sometimes there's a twist.
Yes.
But it's one of those where these athletes, and I do call them athletes,
100% athletes.
They take a beating. They take bumps. They take bruises. I mean, even running into the ropes is, a pain.
That will leave bruises on your back, and it takes a while for you to build a callus on your back for it not to bruise your back. Rhea Ripley, one of the major female stars, she posted on her Twitter and Instagram. She literally has a black eye. She caught an elbow or a fist to the eye. These women and men do take some what they call potatoes, right? That's what they're called in the industry. They'll take a potato, which means it's by accident. Getting slammed into the what is it? The steel plated stairs. I mean,
oh yeah, no,
yeah, that was a bad one, dude. I saw it. It was Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. I mean, those two guys are like 6'8", about almost 300 pounds each, and one guy slams the other one into this. Oh my god!
Right. Those stairs have I don't care what you say, right?
Yeah,
your back is a very vulnerable thing.
Yes,
right. You can fracture. You can slip a disc. You can whatever. Those things have sharp metal edges.
Yes.
Okay. That sharp edge, if you fall on it incorrectly with your spinal cord, is a risk.
You're no longer walking. You may no longer be breathing.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention it. John Cena wins his 17th championship. Now here's a little problem I got with it. They were building this up. It was his last year of wrestling. He's going to go from January to December. He came back as a good guy, and then he double crossed everybody because The Rock told him to last month. And then we're like, oh, why is he choosing to go with The Rock? And why is he listening to The Rock? And then The Rock doesn't show up at WrestleMania. Like, you just dropped the ball on the story of why is John Cena turning into a bad guy after 20 years of being a good guy, of being literally our Hulk Hogan, right? Of being, eat your vitamins and drink milk and whatever, right? Hustle, loyalty, and respect. And now he's like, screw you. I'm all about myself. I don't care about the fans. I'm doing this for me. I want the 17th time champion to be the all-time champion, because Ric Flair had 16, so he beat Ric Flair's record. And people are complaining about it. This is what you wanted. You wanted John Cena to be a bad guy. Now he's a bad guy, and everyone's complaining about it.
Well, I think the complaints are just that he was not a very good bad guy. I think
his promos are literally truth bombs, and that the internet trolls can't take it. When he's just telling you, he's like, when I was a good guy, all you guys were doing was booing me because it was a cool thing to do. When the kids were cheering me, the adults wanted to boo me, the adult males, because it was a cool thing to do. You wanted me to turn. I turned. and now you're still booing me? Go F yourself. Again, it's soap opera. It's a show. It gets you excited.
Yeah,
It's
like
all part
I'm
of it.
not I don't follow wrestling all that much anymore. You know, I know what's happening, like, you know, obviously because I see it on Facebook, internet, you know,
Yeah.
etc. Because it still pops up in my feed, and you know, it's interesting. Um, you know, so I read an article today, you know, kind of like, oh, I'm not too up on things, you know, but yes, I did read, like, you know, oh, you know, about the whole The Rock situation of you built up, you know, where he's going with The Rock and all this stuff, and then The Rock doesn't show,
Yeah.
which, you know, The Rock is a very busy man. I get it.
He's on the
However,
board of directors for the WWE. He tells everyone what to do. he's shown up to different like events like the day of, and they have to rewrite scripts because he's
yeah,
like, "Oh, I want to do 25 minutes," and he's the boss. So like, yeah, you can't really say anything. But
yeah,
then
to me,
show up to the
that's a bit
biggest show of the
ridiculous.
year, the Super Bowl, man. Where were you?
Yeah, that to me is a little bit ridiculous. That you know, don't
It
stay
just
with
it's
board, stay
more
off.
because Travis Scott showed up in his place. Because Travis Scott,
But again, it's one of those, like, if you know that your obligations outside of this are too complicated, when you know the dates of WrestleMania long in advance,
a
you know
year,
where it's going to be long time in advance.
Yeah.
Now again, I understand, like, hey, like if it were a family issue,
yeah,
or like he was really scheduled to be there and something popped and he couldn't make it, which I'm sorry, he has his own private jet. You're telling me you couldn't be there in a moment's notice,
yeah,
like
yeah. He was
for an
Hawaii.
hour,
Right.
like come in, do your thing, and then you're back on your private jet to wherever you need to be.
They were in Vegas. The airport's literally right next to Allegiant Stadium, right next to it.
Yeah. Like I said, to me, it's one of those, like, I want no excuses on that one. However, again, you know, I am not The Rock's personal, you know, assistant. I don't know what his schedule is.
Man,
But again, you know, to me, it's one of those where dude, if you know you can't be there and you can't, you know, guarantee you're going to be there, don't make a storyline where you're involved, and just be a board member and be quiet. You
pick a
know,
lane.
because that's like the whole bloodline situation with, you know, what happened during that match, you know, with CM Punk and all of them.
Yeah, and Paul Heyman screwing everybody. But that
Yeah.
one I kind of expected. Like I was like, yeah, he's gonna go because Paul Heyman has always screwed his person, right? Wherever he's managing. It was time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was time. Yeah, obviously, eventually you want to turn.
You know.
So again, it's gonna be while I'm editing and reposting this for the audio version, or if you want to watch it on Spotify as well. While I'm doing that, I'm gonna have wrestling on, and that's what I do. You know, that's my relaxing time. As I'm all frustrated about it, talking about it, but oh man, it's good. It's entertainment. It's entertainment.
Yeah, the overall thing that I basically heard, though, was that the Cena Cody Rhodes match was just not that good.
No, it was not. It was not. It essentially it buried Cody, and it makes no sense if you built him up for 2 years. Losing to Roman Reigns, and then being able to win the Royal Rumble again, to face Roman Reigns, and then beat him and finally finish your story, and then a year later, you get buried by John Cena just on bullshit moves. Yeah. It was. Yeah.
Well, like I said, to me, again, I didn't watch the match, so I couldn't really tell you. But like I said, I read something that it was the worst WrestleMania match since like WrestleMania 9. Which I don't even know which wrestling match that was and how bad it was, but
WrestleMania 9, that might have been the Hulk Hogan Yokozuna, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, Bret Hart was able to come into the match for Hulk Hogan, and then he wins the championship. It was a dumb, it was stupid, and it was in Las Vegas too, so it was dumb. It was at Caesars.
But again, to me, like, for Triple H and the creative team, Like I said, I would go to The Rock and be like, hey, we understand you're a board member. We understand that you are a former wrestler. We understand that you are a big name and draw. However, we no longer want you involved in the day to day. You know,
Yeah, good luck with that.
like don't just show up to an episode and be
That
like, I
one
want
I'd be like,
25 minutes.
yeah, that I would be like, dude, give me a week advance notice.
No, not even a week. I'm sorry. Like, we don't want you involved. Like, unless you can guarantee
He
the
sells
date.
tickets, man. He sells
If
tickets, puts ass in
I don't care.
seats.
I don't care. Unless you can guarantee that you are going to be there at WrestleMania. If we're going to start down this road and start a storyline that you're the alpha, whatever, of the bloodline, yada, yada, yada. Like, am I supposed to tell this story 3 years from now because you can't show up? Like, how long am I supposed to?
Yeah, that's
How
essentially
long?
what it's been because they teased the whole he's gonna fight Roman for the bloodline. Now the bloodline's over. The bloodline's over and dead. So you can't do that. Now he's the alpha, the alpha boss or whatever the final boss. He's the final boss.
Right.
Because he's the
Which,
board
what
member.
does that have to do with anything?
Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, because now Roman's buried underneath Seth again, and CM Punk, I know he kissed the ring last night before he left, kind of signaling like, dude, this might be his last WrestleMania. Like,
no,
he might realize he's in the twilight.
he is in the twilight. He said he can do it a couple more years, 2 to 3 years, depending on health. He finally was able to headline a WrestleMania. This one was on his bucket list, and I think right now, if he's more worried about storytelling and having good feuds with whoever it may be, as long as it's a good story and it makes sense as he rides off into the sunset, and then he'll probably be a coach down at NXT and teaching the kids how to actually do it right. I'm all for that. So
Yeah, like I said, maybe I should see if I can find a link on YouTube or something and watch the Cody versus Cena match.
pretty sure you can.
But like I said, from everything I read or saw
It was a bad match.
Yeah, that it was a bad match. And, some people have basically said that, even with all the push and everything that Cody has gotten, that Cody's just not that type of talent. He's a mid-level talent. He's the Christian. He's
what he was. Yes, that's what he was. And these guys do get their opportunity because Christian was a world champion, but in a couple of different organizations. Cody as well.
In the WWE, like, Christian's not that kind of guy.
No, Christian's not. He's not going to sell tickets. He's not going to put asses in seats. And there was a lot of price dropping, people not selling out WrestleMania because of the main events. Where and that's the other thing was that Jey Uso, who was hotter than anything, was the first match on Saturday. And I get it; you always start with a good match at the beginning, but that match, I mean, it didn't move the needle for me. I love Jey Uso, but
no, and that's the thing is, like we grew up in the Attitude Era with, God, the talent of the Attitude Era with Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels and Triple H and all those guys. You look at the roster today of the WWE, and it's just like, I don't.
There's a lot of good talent on there. It's just, they're going through a transition process from Vince McMahon to Triple H. This has been year one of Triple H.
The storytelling's been great, but to me,
it's been layered after layered.
It's the talent and the matches that are lacking. Where it's like, like I can't remember the last time like I saw a match and I was like, a 30-minute match or 40-minute match, something like a long match where it was just like, dude, that was a great match. Like, that was something like I want to go watch YouTube clips again and again and again. Where like, dude, like some of like the Mankind versus Undertaker, like the cage match, dude, it was just one of those.
That was a demolition derby, man. That was a demolition derby, and I know that's one of my favorite matches.
But even like, okay, like
Bret Hart, Steve Austin,
yes,
That's
I mean, not that he's the greatest human being to talk about, but I mean, some of the Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero matches.
oh,
I mean,
instant classics.
you
Yeah.
want to talk about precision,
Yes.
like technical, like wrestling, some of the greatest out there, right? And again, we don't want to go into Chris Benoit as a human being, but it's one of those where even like those type of people, like okay, Dom, I like Dom, Dirty Dom one, right?
Yes.
It's
I
one of
love
those
that.
where like I look at Dirty Dom and it's like, dude, your dad is Rey Mysterio.
Yes.
How are you so bad at wrestling?
He's gotten better. I don't think he's that
He's gotten better, but it's one of those where it's like, dude, you had every opportunity in the world to be good coming into this business. And maybe they pushed him when he was a little too young,
He
'cause
was a little
when I came
green.
out,
He was
when
he
you're
was a lot
18,
green when he was on TV early in his career, when he was at, that cookie cutter baby face with his dad. He was really bad. Now I think he's at the stage where he can have a decent match. The good thing about him is that the crowd reacts to him so good. As soon as he comes out, they're booing him out of the building. So that means fans care whether you're booing or cheering. So that's a good thing. He's actually really good on the mic. If he was able to talk, he is really good. So like when he does his post interviews, I see him doing it in Spanish and in English. He's a really good talker. So if you're really good on the mic and you have crowd reaction, they're going to give you 10, 15 minutes in front of the TV.
like
And
I
we'll
said,
work on the
for me
wrestling
with
after.
WWE, it's the in-ring performances that are lacking. And to me, it's like the again, we grew up in the Attitude Era, so it's also the
It was, I
in
mean,
between skits. Like I miss like the APA stuff. You know what I
oh
mean?
yeah.
Whereas like they're sitting there playing poker and somebody walks up and says something and it's like, damn, like that kind of stuff. Where it's just entertaining stuff, like mixed in during the episode. And like I feel like that's missing.
That is missing. I do agree with you where the little skits and the vignettes were some way to break up the show and give you a little bit of comedic relief.
Like I feel like now it's like it's either an interview backstage, like where they're talking to LA Knight or whoever, or it's like somebody comes out to the ring, does a spiel in ring, like the Miz or whoever, and then somebody comes out, they fight, and then next wrestling match. Like I said, like I kind of miss the vignettes, the little breakage of like, dude, I mean, how many times did Kurt Angle have some hilarious skit, where
the little cowboy hat.
yes, like
Oh my god.
or like, where Steve McMahon was the beer man driving the beer truck out, Kurt comes out with a milk truck,
Yes.
like I miss those kind of things where, there was some fun aspects, there was some debauchery, there was stuff like that going on. And I think today, like those, I mean, dude, Mankind used to do like a 5-minute in a boiler room, like speech. And like, I remember that as a kid being like, dude, that's so awesome. Where, he's talking all philosophical and about, Mick Foley's little boy or baby, Mrs. Foley's baby boy, kind of stuff and all that, again, like I really feel like there's the showmanship aspect missing from, like I said, they're trying to push the in-ring like wrestling, and it's like that is not very good right now.
I would tell you to watch some of the female matches. I think some of those female matches are a lot better than the male matches.
But that's what I'm trying to say is like
Watch a Rhea Ripley match.
like
Watch.
listen, the females have like Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, who came back, supposedly this weekend.
Yep.
some like a lot of these females, like their matches, and again, I give credit to Lita and Trish and like some of these ladies in the Attitude Era that really pushed that, like, hey, look, we can wrestle too,
Yeah.
and we can perform moves as well. But like I said, there's something with the guys where it's like they're being brought up too early, they're not being trained properly. Something's going on where it's just like the matches look sloppy, you know, that
Here's the problem with what you're talking about. You've got a lot of guys who are not good on the mic, who have to be force fed everything. What I'm talking about that is like they have to be written for, and they have to
but
memorize
that's where the
word for
vignettes
word.
come in, right?
So it's right. So it sounds forced when they're in front of the crowd, in front of the TV, and they have to memorize this promo. Then all they want to do is a bunch of high spots when it comes to the wrestling part. Like, oh, I'm gonna jump off the top of the rope, do a 360 and land outside on you, and I'm gonna jump through the ropes, and then I'm gonna slam you through the table. And it's like, have a decent mechanical match, have one or two high spots at the end, hit your finisher, go home. Do some storytelling with the wrestling. So when JC's talking about Eddie Guerrero would call the match out there, and he would go based on the crowd. Okay, now let's do this. Okay, let's do that. Eddie Guerrero was a storyteller in the ring. So when you talk about him and Chris Benoit, him and Kurt Angle, him and JBL, him and John Cena, those are the guys who call the matches out there and can tell a story just based on the crowd reaction. And those are the best matches you remember.
To me, like, if you can't do a promo and a guy's not good at promo, great, do vignettes. Like I said, do something where it's like, hey, we're going to do a like little 3-minute skit, and you're going to be hilarious. You're going to be funny. People are going to, you're going to get put over because of the vignettes, but I'm going to keep you off of a live mic. Like, cause you can't talk like, there's, and I understand like the new thing is like the Miz and the truth bombs and, telling it how it is and, whatever. That's great and everything for certain people and certain characters. But at the end of the day, like those vignettes led to a lot of the storytelling in, that Attitude Era as well. Where like, dude, we're searching the arena for Stone Cold, he locked us in a toilet, or like, we were using the porta potty and he knocked it over with his pickup truck. And I walk out looking in like blue toilet water.
Come on. I mean, my favorite is him and Booker T in the grocery store.
Yes. Like, but like how many times like we poured cement in Vince McMahon's Corvette or, whatever it is. And like I said, like that's missing from wrestling today, where it's like, why is this person upset with this person? Like, other than the bloodline BS, like other than you have the title, I don't.
If you don't provide the why, the fans do not care.
And I feel like a lot of the why is missing. And like, instead of telling those type of little stories as to, hey, like, I was poking the bear, poking the bear, and now you're going to come after me. Or like, the WCW storyline of Sting being in the rafters, that kind of stuff, Mick Foley being in the boiler room, without those kind of storylines and vignettes and everything else throughout the episode, like I feel like the in-ring performances are lacking. Like, you know what I mean? Like to me, it's one of those, if there was a little more story, maybe they would improve the in-ring. But, again, I just feel like a lot of the talent in today's WWE is like the talent level of, say, like a Chris Jericho via Attitude Era or the Rob Van Dams of the Attitude Era. Like it's okay talent, but it's not HBK WrestleMania shut down, you know, like it's not a
I really
5-star
enjoy
performance.
Chris Jericho. I think Chris Jericho is one of the GOATs. How many times has he changed character? How many times has he been relevant?
Absolutely. But it's one of those, to me, like, he got his chances here and there, but he wasn't an Undertaker where he was consistently in line for a championship. It was one of those, he was always a mid-card kind of guy with the Lion Tamer. He wrestled,
He was the first undisputed champion. He beat The Rock and Stone Cold. He feuded with The Rock for a very long time. I saw his debut in Chicago because I was there.
the Y2J, the debut.
So you had all that. So I think Rob Van Dam, because he was a niche wrestler, especially kind of the indie guy, and then
Like,
ECW.
I put him as a mid-card guy. He had his,
he was horrible on the mic too.
He had his closing, matches and featured matches, but most of the time he was that second to third match before the end of the night. You know what I mean? He wasn't the main event of the night. He was always the match before or the match before that. You know what I mean? In my opinion, it's like Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio's had his pushes and his features, but he's not really ever regarded as that main event of a night kind of, guy. He's always the guy that does the match before the main.
He had a couple years, and I'm gonna say mid 2000s when he was feuding with Batista and Big Show, where I think he won his championship. Oh no, that was a year before that. He's won a championship against, with good storylines.
Yeah.
But it's always David versus Goliath. It's always the same story with him, David versus Goliath. So I can see where you're like, oh, he's not a consistent main eventer. Yeah. But he's still.
I mean, like, listen, like, you have your Spike Dudleys, you have your guys like that at the beginning of the show, right?
Right.
Then you have your mid card, which are the Miz's, the, whoever you want to say, I mean, you're like guys like the Miz, which the Miz has had his opportunities as well, but he's, for whatever reason, normally in that mid card, the Intercontinental Championship.
He needs to evolve again. He needs to change again for him to be relevant. Right now, I think he's just stuck.
But again, I mean, like, we understand in a talent level, there's 3 tiers to this game, right? You have your main eventers, Stone Cold, Rock, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, etc. Then you have your Kevin Owens and your, who was I just talking about with the Lion?
He doesn't watch wrestling. The product.
Again, I was a huge Attitude Era guy. I know the product from the Attitude Era, but like I said, like nowadays,
you still know a lot of names from right now.
But again, like, I don't know a lot. Like yes, I know of LA Knight. I don't know what he's doing in the business. I've never really watched any of his matches. Like I said, I know he's being pushed as like kind of a main eventer, but again, I don't really watch his stuff. Same thing with Priest. I know he was in what was Judgment Day or whatever, and then Judgment Day is no longer a thing, and he's kind of trying to become a main eventer because he has that body type. But again, I don't know that he has the wrestling in ring performances.
He does. I've watched him since he was in NXT. He has the wrestling part. He just didn't have. He had to take care of his body, and then he had to work on his mic skills, which he has completely turned around, and that's why he's getting a big push. That's why he won with the Money in the Bank, and then he had the feud with Jesus. Why can't I think of Drew McIntyre? And that was a great brutal match because it was just street fight. But
well, like I said, again, I really haven't. That's why I'm telling you, like, I don't really know the new product. Like I said, I haven't watched a lot of Priest matches. I haven't really watched a lot of Dom matches. Now I know like Finn Balor. Like, I know him because he was kind of at the where I stopped watching, when he first came in,
Yeah.
when he was, doing not the
Demon?
Fiend, but the
He was
demon,
the demon, yeah.
kind of shtick. So like I'm aware of his kind of stuff. But it's one of those where, like I said, like there's certain mid-tier guys that, it's one of those where I just don't feel the product is that good, or like I miss the days of like Christian and Jericho and the Hardys and the Dudley Boys. Like I feel like some of the tag team stuff is lacking.
The tag team division is lacking. They do have a lot of tag teams. It's just they're not in major storylines that are relevant for you to remember. Like I can tell you who the tag teams are, but are there any tag teams that I'm going to tell you that I want to watch wrestle or have a feud? No, because they're not relevant.
No, but like how many times like in the Attitude Era would like Stone Cold and The Rock team up against Triple H and HBK, or like there was always a random tag team match with the stars.
And that happens, and the reason that they do that is to lessen the workload on those stars, so they're not working in the main event every single night. And if they work in the main event as a tag team, it's less work. It's also a conflict and resolution kind of thing where these two guys are having problems with each other, going to wrestle. Let's put them in a tag team to see what happens and build up the drama. Blah 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 blah. That's the simple writing.
The Rock and Sock connection, man.
The Rock and Sock, right. That was gold, right? Exactly. But those are two guys who can ad lib and are very creative at the same time, and are not afraid of failing. Because who would have thought pulling the sock out of your drawers would have got over? Okay,
yeah.
So it's just, again, you take a risk, and those are big swings, and they cashed out on it, and they made millions on it. It is what it is, right? Yep. Dude, I can't believe we've been talking wrestling for about 30 minutes.
Oh, well, yeah, it's probably longer than that. I mean, this is 2 hours and 10 minutes. We've been going on forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just one of those where I really wish that the product in ring, like I said, man.
How about you watch tonight's episode? I'm gonna watch tonight's episode. Watch it. We'll report back next week and tell me what you think of the product, because you're gonna get this Raw that I'm telling you to watch should be the best Raw of the year, right? It's always the Raw after WrestleMania that's wild. It's the new season, right?
Netflix now?
It's on Netflix. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can watch it at any point. So, all right, it's time to go. We're way over time.
You mean you don't want to do a what are you watching?
No, we've already told you what we're watching. No, we can save that for next week. I gotta flip the show. All right. That is it for today. Thank you to our fans for listening. Thank you to our listeners for sticking with us and supporting us through 244 episodes. Thank you to our sponsor, 606 Media, True Chicago Sports. And remember to go to 606media.com to get your official merch for all the podcasts. You can find us on Twitter, TCSF Pod. That's Serge. He's running the Twitter for us. If you want to check us out at True Chicago Sports Fans on Facebook, that's usually me and Berto, who posts most of the stories on there. Thank you, Berto. And then the IG. I got to get back on the IG. It's not, for some reason, not connected to Facebook, and I forgot to figure that out. Anyways, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, whatever you're listening to, your local podcast, favorite, share it, and drop some comments. Some nice, kind words. That'll help us out on the charts. Thank you so much. I know we do well, but
that button.
Yeah, smash that button. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, share, watch all the clips, share those clips, please, please, please. Thank you very much. If you have anything you want to talk to us,
are horrible on wrestling.
Yeah, you can tell us what you think about the wrestling segment that we just had 35 minutes, 40 minutes on. If you want to reach us at our email about any topic, any complaints, any suggestions, truechicagosportsfans@gmail.com. All right, y'all. For JC, I am Big Z. We'll see you next time for episode 245. And until then, be good to each other for the love of sports.
Draft well, Bears.